One of the easiest ways to start a garden is start a container garden. You can start a garden if you're in an apartment with just a balcony to work with or a small space. If you don't really have a big space, then a container garden is probably the perfect way for you to start a garden. The first thing you'll need is containers. There's hundreds of different ways you can do this, but I recommend a food grade container. You want to make sure if it's a plastic container that it is a safe container, because we are going to be eating what is grown inside this container. So we do want to make sure that the plastics don't get off into the soil. That's why I chose a food grade container. There are sites on the internet that you can go to look up and see the codes on the bottom and see if it is safe to plant in. One very important thing is you have to have holes in the bottom of your container in order for the water to drain through. If the water's not able to drain through, the water will build up, you'll get root rot, and then your plants are going to die and it'll get all nasty in there. So we're going to start by drilling some holes. Now that we have the holes drilled, we're going to put the soil in. You really don't want to use the soil that's out in your yard because it's probably too heavy. We're going to use potting mix. It's important to use a potting mix, one that soaks up the moisture and is a little bit fluffy, because the plants are going to be real dependent on this soil. It's not like out in a garden where they can reach out and get nutrients as far as they need to go. We'll also add some organic fertilizer. This is Whitney and Farms, but there are other fertilizers out there. This is organic for tomatoes and vegetables. And I like to also mix some earthworm casting. And I'll use some worm castings as well. As I mix it up, I'm going to try to keep all of this to the top 5 or 6 inches. Now again, for fertilizer, we are using the Whitney and Farms organic and natural fertilizer. This is tomato and vegetable, a slow release organic fertilizer, and also mixing in earthworm castings. Next is time to plant. I'll be planting some bell pepper plants, also tomatoes, and I have some seeds. When planting seeds, you'll want to make sure you get the container variety of the seeds. Okay, now it's time to plant the tomato plant. Dig a hole, and the thing about tomatoes, you can plant them a little bit deeper because roots will actually grow out of the stem. And we'll put some water in there. It's important to know also when you're watering in the containers that you keep the containers watered every day. You want to make sure the water seeps on through to make sure you have water at the bottom, and that will allow the roots to dig down deep. Next, I'll plant bell peppers. I'm going to cheat in this one. I'm going to plant 2 in it. There's also the square foot method that you can Google and see how many plants you can plant in one bucket or one area. I would say that a bucket is about 1 square foot of area to plant. Make sure you water. I have another variety of bell peppers, some different color bell peppers that I'll plant in this pot. I'll be planting some extra seed, and then I'll prune some of the extra growth. Usually a good rule of thumb on the depth of planting seeds is twice the width of the seed, and that's how deep you plant it. Next, I'll plant some summer squash. This is the container variety. Later on, I'll use this liquid fertilizer when the nutrients are gone in the soil in a few weeks and kind of freshen up the fertilizer. You'll want to make sure you keep it fertilized really well. Don't over fertilize it, but you'll want to keep a good balance of fertilizer in your containers because your plants are dependent solely of what you put into this container. It's not like they're in a garden and they can grow out roots as far as they need to. They're restricted to these pots. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you. Hit the subscribe button and thanks for watching.